The sporting event that made you the most angry as a sports fan, whether it was a game you watched in person or on TV, where you just lost it emotionally and you still remember it to this day.
Mm.
I
I'll
know,
let you guys go first.
I know Charles mentioned his.
All right. Well, I'll lead the way then. For anybody who is a Yankees fan or follows the Yankees, you already know where we're going. That 2004 American League Championship Series against the Red Sox, we were up 3-0. Then they come back and we lose the series 4-3. It was just cataclysmic. You're just watching there. I was about 14 at the time, and I'm just sitting there screaming, what the hell is going on? You felt defeated, you felt hurt, especially since the prior year, Aaron Boone, who is our manager now, belted a home run the prior year to lead us to the World Series. So you felt that history was in the making, or not in the making, but it was repeating itself. And then all of a sudden, Tito is basically saying, hey, I'm Terry Francona. You came to the wrong place. Kurt Schilling was just amazing that game. Johnny Damon was just kind of saying, we're not going to give up. And as a fan, it hurts because you know you should win. You had it in the bag, and it goes to show that sports is unpredictable. There was words said that I cannot utter on air, but I was a very angry 14-year-old, prepubescent or pubescent boy going off, and it was just the PTSD still hits me now.
And you guys kind of unleashed a really terrible beast in the Boston sports fan. As much as the Yankees fans are annoying, since the Patriots won their first Super Bowl, it has been a never-ending run of Boston sports fans just having it all those Super Bowls, now all these World Series championships, and the icing on the cake, they got a Stanley Cup and an NBA championship, and all their teams are good right now. It sucks. Especially down here, a South Florida sports fan, we are in the gutter right now for almost all of our franchises, and our best hope are the Miami Dolphins, and that is really sad. But yeah, you guys unleashed the beast. As much it was nice to see them end their 86-year curse, especially against the Yankees, I don't know. I don't know if it was worth it.
I mean, they just kind of followed the methods that we did through those years, and they had the guys. It's not as if they came out of nowhere.
Where were you at the time? I mean, how angry were you?
I was at home. I was watching Fox Sports. There's always a superstition in sports, and every time it was a Yankee playoff game and my mother was around, something bad would happen. I remember when we got eliminated by the Angels in 2003, I believe.
2002.
In the playoffs. 2002, thank you. Yeah, against them, and she was around, so I'm like blaming her. She's like, "Grow up! I don't know what you're crying about." But I just remember Vlad Guerrero just killing us in that series.
No,
but I was at
that was 2006. Probably.
2006
or 5,
yeah,
one of those years. Yeah,
there was something, and then we got a revenge the year we went to the World Series and won in 2009. But I was at home, we're watching it, and it was literally that close-up that you get on ESPN when you see on the bleachers and whatnot, with the person's hands are in their head or the head's in their hands. That was me, with my baseball cap on and everything. And then I didn't do the thing of the rally cap where I reverse it, but I'm just sitting there like, what is this? Because I had a friend, one of my best friends is a Boston Red Sox fan, and the crap talk that I delivered to him those first 3 games of the series came back in the worst ways. That series made me believe in karma, and to that day, I won't ever talk smack. I'll just leave it be.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. Gosh. Okay. So mine was, I guess it's fairly unnotable game. It was the 2000, and this is when I knew I was a hockey fan. The 2011-2012 season, the Panthers hadn't made the playoffs in 10 years, which is the longest drought.
I think I know where this is going.
The longest drought in NHL history, and this is a franchise that's already has a lot of bad stuff happening to them already. And and it was my first season as a hockey fan, okay? And I was just following the team. I was starting to learn about the team. I didn't know it would eventually lead me into getting actual NHL press passes and things like that, which is weird. But it was the Panthers were clinging on for dear life to their Southeast Division lead, and it was the fact that the Winnipeg Jets, the Washington Capitals, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Tampa Bay Lightning were all just so mediocre that season that the Panthers were by default the best team, but they were the best team just by default. They were clinging on for dear life, and it was a high profile game, probably the third or fourth last game of the season against the Winnipeg Jets. I went with my sister. I wanted to see it because it was basically if the Panthers had won, they would have clinched their playoff spot. And the Panthers were winning, I think about like 4-1, and then 4-2 after like the second period. Then the third period, they were like midway through the third. Winnipeg gets their third goal, and then they tie the game. And I was just livid in the stands. Like, I just couldn't believe that they came back. The Panthers were so close. The Panthers got into overtime. They got 1 point. So now they're 1 point away from clinching their playoff spot. And the Winnipeg Jets win in overtime. And I couldn't believe it. I was so angry. My sister had to pick up now her husband from the Fort Lauderdale airport afterwards. I'm sitting in the car and I am fuming. I'm like, I can't believe they didn't win that game. All they had to do was do this. They had to do that. They had to like. And my sister's like, you gotta calm down. And I'm like, I can't calm down. I was so angry in the car the whole ride over. And the Panthers backed themselves into the playoffs that season. They got in through a loss. I think the Detroit Red Wings beat somebody, and they won their playoff spot afterwards. Through those means, and then they won their division the night afterwards with an actual victory. But it was kind of an anticlimactic way to back into the playoffs. But that game, I was so angry and so fuming, and I knew I was a hockey fan after that. But that was the most angry that I was in person. On TV, probably the 2014 NBA Finals between the air conditioning game when it broke in San Antonio. Another reason why I hate San Antonio. That's another thing. I hate San Antonio, but I love El Paso in Texas. Unlike Sam's Club, San Antonio, Texas does not have air conditioning. But that's what that game, that air conditioning. If the AC had worked, the Heat I believe they would have won that game. And they would have changed the face of the series. It might have changed the face of the NBA. Maybe LeBron stays in Miami. I don't know. Or at the very least, he goes out on a three-peat, and we're all good and happy. So that was the other game in person, or on TV that I remember. Andrew, you're up.
Well, first I want to say I'm surprised that the final game of the Panthers-Islanders series a couple years ago.
When Trocheck was tripped? Yeah, I'm kind of over it, but I was just saying what was in person, but
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not usually an angry sports fan. I'm really not. So I don't really have an angry sports moment per se. I usually have more of supreme disappointment.
Okay, what was the most supremely disappointed you were?
There are a few of them. One was back in, I want to say 2012. UCF was playing Mizzou, and we had an opportunity to take a lead or close the score a bit, but there was just terrible clock management by George O'Leary, which ultimately hurt us and ultimately led us to losing the game. Let's see what else.
I'm reading Mikey's comments. Browns Raiders this year. it made me genuinely pissed off for the whole day. And then the 2015 NCAA Hockey Championship led me to flip over my laptop by Mr. Canada. Okay.
Be you, Mr. Canada.
Oh,
if it is who I think it.
Yeah.
If it is who I think it is, he's a fan of Boston University Terriers.
Oh, you know what really made me pissed off? The was it the 2014 Olympic hockey final, the US with the women's hockey final, when Team USA blew the lead and lost to Canada. That really pissed me off. I was in my USA hockey jersey and everything. I was like, go, and then they lost in overtime. To Canada of all teams. Okay, this is the thing. I've been to Canada, and Canadians are not, when it comes to hockey, they are complete a-holes, okay? So they're polite for everything else in the world, but when it comes to hockey, it's the one thing they're really, really rude about. Which is why I hate the Winnipeg Jets, but that's another thing.
Let me see if I can pull out another one from the bag.
So I can just imagine little Charles looking at Dave Roberts steal that base, and then David Ortiz smacking that home run.
Dude, I mean, it's always something, and it was so weird because maybe I've grown up and matured, but this year when they met in the playoffs, I was like, I already know what's happening. Whatever. I was the one objective fanboy who was like, listen, we're going to get to the playoffs and we're not going to beat the Red Sox. Call it a day. I'm just happy to be here. My blood pressure can't go up because of what happened in 2004.
So you weren't screaming to trade Giancarlo Stanton?
I was, yeah. I'm a hypocrite. What can I say?
Yeah,
there was moments where I'm just watching him swing. I'm like, so that's what Francisco was always talking about.
Yeah. It's his first playoff series, even though he did come up big in pressure on the World Baseball Classic the last time. But Andrew, do you have one more supremely disappointing or really pissed off moment that you were looking up, or not? I love your long, exasperated sighs.
It's not exasperating. I'm honestly trying to think, but like I said, it's
you don't really get pissed off during sports games,
right? I either get supremely happy or
really sad.
Crap, this sucks.
Okay.
If I think of anything, I'll come back to it.
Yeah, sure. We can always come back to it.
You have another 30 minutes or so.
Speaking of, well, actually, no, I didn't want to go that. Supreme disappointment. Let's go to the Miami.
You know what?
The Miami.
I just thought of one.
Okay, we're gonna go back. Okay. What is it?
The 2010 gold medal game. U.S.
Oh, you were really pissed off at that one? I mean, I always thought it was one of the greatest games ever, but the golden goal.
Well, not pissed off, but supreme disappointment.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't get pissed off, but that one hurt quite a bit.
You gave him a stern talking to.
Well, I mean, Team USA came back from that game, but then Sidney Crosby put it away, of all people. But okay, I can see that. That game was actually one of the things that pushed me into hockey. But sorry, Andrew.
Really?
Yeah.
And I guess the entire 2015 UCF season.
That was just long. Oh boy.